Corey, you were just talking about, was it yesterday, 2 days ago, that they only had 2 one-run victories. Now you put another one-run victory on the slate.
Question, Corey.
Yes.
Tough question.
I have. Okay.
Would you have ever guessed the Rangers would be up by 1 run versus the Mariners with 6 outs to go, or maybe a few more, and that they would just hold the game right there? That the Rangers wouldn't have to score more, kind of like they did in the last series against the Angels, right? Evaldi's gone 8 innings, it's 3-0, and you're up by 3, not 1, and then they tack on 7. You're like, okay, we're in good shape here.
This year?
Well,
because in the past, like 4 years, no.
No, but I'm saying kind of
year?
after that Cincinnati series, after kind of what they've been doing, like I was pretty nervous going into the 8th and 9th inning up by only 1 run.
Yeah, this is a team that's going to have to prove it often. And they still have work to do in their bullpen. I think the Rangers front office understands that. They still have work to grow there. And I don't know, maybe they do develop it at some point, and they do have something. They're like, you know what, we're seeing something we like down in the minor league system. I'm not sure about that, but no, Mike, I would have never guessed that going into 1 run or going into that situation that they would have held it, because you feel like you have one pitcher you can trust kinda right now.
And to that point, you also would not have gone into this game and said, Dane Dunning's going to pitch better than Luis Castillo. Like, that's just, right. I would have been like, yeah, great. Let's take that. But that's what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I go back to, Jared said something yesterday, which I totally get, about Jonah Heim perhaps being the MVP of the team. And that's one of the things I love about this team is I think he can throw out several different ones. And I'm not saying he's the absolute MVP, but I do want to shout out Dane Dunning again for being the multi-tool of this pitching staff that has just been phenomenal.
Yes.
You can find him pretty much anywhere. Across the board, it's just like, hey, go throw it. He's like, I got you.
I think before I get to Dane Dunning, when you talked about Jonah Heim, one of our major questions, one was bullpen. We had a good idea about the bullpen situation.
That made some people mad.
We were talking about the second half of the lineup. Not even just 7, 8, 9. We were kind of talking about, boy, after 4, the first 4 look really nice. Yeah. But then you get to, who are you going to get to? Mitch Garver, Jonah Heim, Josh Young. Those are going to be your 5, 6, 7 guys that are kind of sharing in that area. And then you kind of started looking at, all right, then we have who's ever playing center field, probably Leote, who's ever playing left field, which looks like a little bit of a revolving door, which we didn't know. We thought maybe by this time, maybe somebody would be established.
I had hoped.
And it's kind of like nobody established themselves in left field, but Zeke established himself at shortstop, who has to move out to left field in a week to kind of keep his bat in the lineup. You can put him at DH too, but with Dane Dunning, Jared Sandler texted me after the game yesterday as they were traveling to Oakland. He said, what do you think of Dane Dunning and his success this year? And I said, well, first off, it's only 2 starts. Now, he had a lot of success in the pen, too, so I don't want to take anything away from there.
Which is what I was definitely including, for sure.
So I said, well, let's see it play out longer, and hopefully it's not a long time. Hopefully all 4 guys that were in your rotation stay healthy, and Jacob deGrom comes back in June, and he's healthy. But most likely you're going to deal with other injuries besides Jacob deGrom in your rotation. It's just the way baseball go. I would say with Dane Dunning, 1, he's a really smart guy. We know this. We've interviewed him.
Yes.
I've talked to people. He's a really smart guy. So he doesn't have overpowering stuff. Sure. He's always had to, for the most part, in your high minor leagues, AA, AAA, and in the major leagues, he's had to figure out, how do I get these guys out without just pure domination of stuff?
You know what I think about all the time is what your manager said to you. Keep effing him out there.
Yeah.
That might be unfair,
right?
But that's what I always think if somebody has to be like crafty.
Yes, and so with Dane Dunning, I think he's just gotten smarter. And I'm not saying he wasn't smart, but I think he can really look at his video himself. I think he gets help from Mike Maddox and gets help from his catchers and stuff. I'm not discounting them, but I think he's like, you know what? If I put this sequence together, if I would have, instead of throwing sinker away there, what if I throw sinker in, and then after that sinker in, I double up there and go sinker in, and really get him thinking about the sinker to open up the outer half of the plate, or vice versa. I just think that he's a really smart guy. I'm not saying I'm a really smart guy, but I had to figure out around 85, 86 miles an hour how to get out high level minor league guys and then how to at times get out major league guys. I wasn't ultimately successful in that and staying in the major leagues like Dane Dunning is. But when you throw below average, and Dane Dunning has a below average fastball, when you throw below average, you have to figure out ways on how to get guys out rather than I'm just going to attack the top of the zone here with 2 strikes, or I'm going to throw a bastard breaking ball right here because he doesn't have one. He has an okay breaking ball. It's nice, but it's not great. It's not a swing and miss breaking ball. So I think he's really figured out how to put better sequences together. I think he's also, if you remember, he struggled in the first inning a lot in his starts for the last 2 or 3 years with the Rangers. He would always struggle in the first inning and getting out of the first inning with a 0 on the board. And it's only 2 starts, but it looks like he's better in the first inning. He's not as, let's say, erratic where it felt like, I'm forgetting the pitching coach last year. It felt like 50% of the time he'd have to make a visit to Dane in the first inning to try to get him back on track, to try to get him through the first so we could get to the second and third inning where he's better. The other thing, too, he wasn't that bad last year. Yeah, when you look at those numbers, it wasn't that bad.
I thought he was going to be one of your starters. Now, clearly, then the Rangers are like, what if we get all the pitchers? And that kind of changed it up. But I thought he was definitely going to be one of your starters. Yeah. Now, there's a whole lot of positivity coming out of this game, and more specifically, this series. So I looked it up, and it's still a long way to go. But you're 22% of the way through the season. The Rangers have the 4th best record in baseball. They have the 3rd best record in the American League. They also have the 3rd biggest divisional lead, which I thought was super fun, which is still only 3 games. But this is also the first time they have won a series in Seattle in 4 years. You know, we talked about that the other day, how long it had been since they had swept like a 3-game road series, and y'all were like, oh, that's too long.
Yeah, that's too long.
But that just shows how bad this team has been, and I think it's cool to build up these little victories. Does winning a series in Seattle change the world? No. But it's the first time you've done that in 4 years, so you should be able to be like, that's pretty awesome.
I think the other part, I like you're talking about building up these little victories. Like once you get to a level of confidence and expectation of yourself, well, then you know, I know what it took to get there, and I can't stop doing those things like Derek was talking about yesterday. But on top of that, I expect myself to win these games. I expect myself to enjoy these moments. And so that when you're not doing those things, you're like, what in the hell do I have to do to get to that point? And then whenever you're there, that's why I believe, Mike, we talk about everybody's kind of in this mindset of some point the Rangers have got to come back down. And yeah, there are going to be some ebbs and flows throughout the season. But at this point now, they know what they're capable of, so they shouldn't be trying to figure it all out.
Let me just bounce this off of you, Kevin, because I know you have a thought here. I've been on a few really good teams.
Yeah.
And when
that Cleveland team.
I know it's weird, but Tucson in AAA, we had the best record in all of Major League Baseball, or all of baseball win percentage-wise. And when you lose and you're on a really good team, you're like, it doesn't even bug you in a way. And that sounds weird to people because you're like, all right, we'll win tomorrow. We're going to win tomorrow. We had a hiccup, a couple things went wrong, or you just tip your cap because the pitcher was awesome, or the hitting, they were able to grind out a couple at bats like the Rangers were against Logan Gilbert the other day and get 2 runs and win the game. You're like, all right, we lost 2-1, but you just have this confidence. Now, I'm not saying the Rangers are there yet. I don't think after almost 40 games you can get to that confident level. But after about 60 or 80 games, you get kind of halfway through the season, and let's just say you're 20 games over 500 or better.
Yeah.
You start having this confidence in your team of like, all right, so we lost, so the bullpen did this, or so the starter did this. We're going to be fine tomorrow, and you just come back with a lot of confidence that today's going to be our day. Why wouldn't it be?
And I love what you're saying, and that's why I thought the way they won yesterday was a big deal. Now, I'm going to pitch this out, and you can be like, hey, look, one game's the same as the next. I know sometimes Jared and Corey would go back and forth about, hey, the games all count the same, and you have to be, given how many there are, you have to be careful not to put too much emphasis on it.
Right.
But here's what I know about the recent history against Seattle. As somebody brought up on the text, it's a great point from the 903. You won a series against their 3 best pitchers. Their 3 best pitchers went against Gray, Heaney, and Dunning, and you won the series. Which is, and by the way,
it's essentially 2 of your lower tier pitchers.
Sure. Or at least like even the middle, right? And guess what? Nobody scored more than 5 runs in any of those games. So even you were there competitively. But here's why I think this is a huge deal. The Rangers have now completed their first trip around the division. 8-4. All right. That's a .667 win percentage. That's pretty damn good. You know what it's been the last 3 years?
125.
Well, it is better than that.
All right.
But it's .391.
That's not,
which is awful.
Great batting average.
Yes, but a terrible win percentage. Oh. And no worse was it than in Seattle. 4-22 in Seattle in that span. And here's the kicker. They lost 8 times by 1 run, including 4 walk-off games. So when you include the bullpen issues that this team has had, the ability to win not just a close game, but 2 close games in Seattle when your bullpen was able to lock it down, that's awesome.
Mike, we talk about this rotation and how the Rangers, like, they have a very good rotation, and they're deep all the way through Heaney when deGrom is on the mound. Do you think the addition of, I'm going to say either Heaney or Eovaldi, was because they knew there's going to be times without deGrom, and we're going to have to be carried by this? Like, this is the bunch that's going to carry the season.
Because I don't think you'd give a $185 million 5-year contract if you believed that you're going to deal with a 20-game starter.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, like, if we're doing this, let's just put ourselves as we're GM, owner, and president, and we're all 3 meeting, and we're like, hey, we really want deGrom. Let's give him the biggest contract that nobody can match. But we all know that he's only going to make 20 starts a year. Yeah. And so we're only going to get 100 starts out of the $185 million. We're going to be paying approximately $2 million per start for 5 years. I think most sane people would in the room go, we're not doing that.
Right.
We can go get another pitcher. If we want to do a 5-year contract, we can go get, now I know he's been hurt a lot, but the lefty that Rodon, we can go get him.
He's pitched this year.
He hasn't pitched, right? Now that would be a bad example because he's been hurt for the Yankees, but we can save $65 million on a 5-year contract and use that in another way. So I do believe they believed when they signed deGrom, but I think they
just wanted to build a good rotation.
We want a solid rotation, and our young guys, I'm not throwing Dunning in this, but our young guys, whether it was Jack Leiter, Cole Winn, Owen White, they are not ready to pitch in the major leagues, and not even close. Let's not force our hand again and have to throw up a guy in the major leagues that cannot compete at this level, and we might ruin him and his confidence for a long time if we do it.
But Kevin, at this point, you still have, I mean, from Eovaldi to Perez, Gray, whatever group you want to put, you have 4 guys that are going to carry you for most of the season, and they're capable of it, especially the middle of the season when you're like, we need innings. Those guys can do it.